Welcome to Techno Tips Learning once again, and I'm here with a new video on identity and access management. Thank you for giving me more subscribers and more likes on my videos, and I have reached kind of 508 subscribers. Last video I have got comments. I think it was less views due to the Good Friday and the long vacation, but yeah, it will pick up. And average view time is 16 minutes, so that is a good sign. So last video was understanding Microsoft licenses because in order to understand identity and access management and implementing the complete security, this video was essential. And today we will work with identity, understand the concept of identity and access management. Before we put it into practice, we need to understand identity and access management. There are some guidelines like NIST, GDPR, HIPAA, all these things. We will talk later when we discuss cybersecurity, but definitely identity and access management and putting restrictions, login restrictions is the beginning of cybersecurity. So, the identity and access management and cybersecurity, these teams work together to make your organization more secure. So, it would be a kind of more theoretical. However, moving forward, when next video comes, we will explore the Entra ID and we will show you how we manage user accounts and how do we manage groups, licenses, and all these things. So let us begin with this video. In this video, we will discuss identity and access management with Microsoft Entra ID. That is like first we will discuss the complete identity and access management concept and process. And definitely it would be in like in shorter terms, or it would be less into explanation because we would fastly move to the practical phase because when discussing about identity and access management there are multiple things that come up like centralized identity provider or decentralized identity provider, so we will skip those part. Moreover, I can give you a link where you can learn the and access management concept on Microsoft website. So I'll put that link in the description. So, however, it is a basic concept that I'll give it to you. So in this video, identity and access management with Microsoft Entra ID, let us see what we will discuss. Before we move to the video, I will request you to kindly subscribe so that because there is a lot of things I am planning to put, and if you subscribe and if you get the notification, the videos will reach easily to you. So, and if you find anything missing or any mistake that I have made or anything that you want to request, you can put it in the comment section, and definitely I go through these comment section personally, look into each and every comment, and based on the comment I create videos as well. So if you want to learn more, watch more videos. If you want to know something, you can always put it in comment and I'll come up with a comprehensive video. So let us move with this video. So in this video, we will learn what is identity and access management, IAM, core IAM components, uh, which are authentication, authorization, multi-factor authentication, and single sign-on. Role of Microsoft Entra ID in identity and access management. Features of Entra ID free, P1 and P2. So in my last video, we discussed when we discussed the licenses, we discussed the Entra ID plans as well. If you want to understand the Microsoft licensing and how Microsoft licensing works, you can watch that video as well. And we will discuss some real world scenarios and best practices that we can maintain in identity and access management. All right. So before we discuss identity and access management, let us see what happens when an identity is breached. Identity breached, you can understand like this: in your organization, you are using your email service, somebody steals your email account or and the password. So what will happen when this identity is breached, when your access is given to someone else? What will happen? So let us see. First thing is initial compromise. The attacker gets through phishing, weak or compromised password, token theft, brute force or password spray attacks, and the result is attacker signs in as the legitimate user. So let me open my whiteboard. All right, so on my whiteboard, I think I will be able to explain it better. So let us see. This is a user. Suppose user is okay, and he is using or he's working for some organization A, suppose, and there is a hacker or someone who is doing social engineering. These all terms are of cybersecurity. So when if you do or do a course on cybersecurity, you will get to know these things. So and based on these cybersecurity terms or based on these cybersecurity techniques, you develop your identity and access management system. So cybersecurity is of different kind. So if you understand cybersecurity, it is of different kind. It is like understanding your network as well. It will sniff your network as well. It will do an operating system or SQL injection uh, as well. And when it is identity, how the identity can be compromised. So that is the first topic: initial compromise. So there is a user and this is an organization. So what happens, this organization gives this user an identity like user 1 at org A, right? So this user uses this ID and he uses kind of weak password like A B C and 123. So if the user is using these passwords, so the attacker gets this access, right, through phishing. Either they can phish you. What is phishing? So they can put a kind of phishing website which looks like a legitimate website to you, and it will ask you for your user ID and password. So when you enter the user ID and password, this password will go to someone who is managing that fake website. So you think you are putting it on a legitimate website, that is your company website, but you end up providing the user ID and password, and it some way it goes to this person who is a hacker. So with your user and password, ID and password, he can now access your organizational resources, right? Uh, that is one way how they can phish you and get your credential. Other one is weak or compromised passwords. So if you're keeping, see, this user ID is not a very sensitive information. So anybody working for maybe any organization, suppose an example if you can take is like contoso.com. That is a hypothetical right? Hypothetical organization by Microsoft, which is used all through the learning. So any user one, like if I am Nitesh, so this user ID is not a sensitive information. This email address or user ID is not a sensitive information. What a sensitive information is your password, which is ABC123, and you have kept it very weak, right? So if you have kept it weak, so by guessing, so hackers are smart. There are algorithms they can create tools which can guess a easy password. Token theft. So what a token theft is, when if you have gone through my Active Directory videos, so the authentication happens through an AD server, Active Directory server, right? So there is a Kerberos token exchange between your user when you are trying to authenticate. There is a Kerberos token which needs to be transferred, and if there is a man in the middle, so that is generally known as man in the middle attack. So if there is a man in the middle, they can capture your token and present it, like change the values of the token and present it to the server and gets authenticated. Or they can brute force or password spray attacks. So brute forcing is like, it is again a guessing game. If you have tried a very complex password, so there are tools which will be able to guess your password. And what is the result of it? Result is attacker signs in as the legitimate user. So when user is logging in with your user ID and password, hacker is logging into your organization system, and it authenticates only through user ID and password. The attacker would be able to log in. What will happen at the second step is persistence and lateral movement. Now the attacker has gained the access of uh, through your ID and password, breached that identity is breached. So your breached identity is with the attacker. So attacker explores what access the user has. If you are some admin, you might have some edit rights or some folder access, file access, or administrative access on your organization. So attackers will explore what kind of accesses you have. Then with that access, they can move to other systems, SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and steal your data. Possibility that they can access some confidential files if you are at a higher position in the company and you maintain some confidential data. So the attacker can gain access to that data, and possibility escalates privileges if not well protected. Now maybe your ID and password with which the attacker entered the system was not like it did not have too much access, but then they find out ways to elevate those privileges so that they can access more sensitive data or more sensitive area inside your organization. Now data access or exfiltration, that the person who is a hacker or who has breached your identity, they can access the data, download sensitive files, read emails or chats, may install malware or ransomware on your machine. Malware is to disrupt. If malware is installed, it will disrupt the company's infrastructure up to an extent. Ransomware is like they will encrypt all your files, and when you want to recover those files, you have to pay money to the person who has created the encryption algorithm to decrypt it. So these all things you learn in cybersecurity as well as I am explaining it, because what will happen if your identity is breached? Now, what will be the potential impact? First is security, loss of confidentiality, risk of further breach, business, downtime, data theft, and legal issues will come if some legal document or some legal information is stolen by someone who breaches your identity and logs into the system. Reputation of the company goes for a toss. So any company which is reputed and a data breach happens in that company, so the customer trust will get impacted because customers will not trust, and it has happened recently with many of the organizations where breach happened, and then their stock prices and the customer trust all went down. Financial impact would be fines, GDPR, HIPAA, and incident response cost if that breach happens and you deploy a team for getting it fixed. Then you have to bear the cost of the incident response. So fines like GDPR and HIPAA will be imposed on you. So GDPR is General Data Protection Regulation. So what actually a GDPR is? So suppose you own a website, okay, or you own a company and you have customers, so you get the records, customer records in your company, right? Now this GDPR, it will guide you to disclose the usage and storage of the data, how you will use and how you will store the data. Now any company which is keeping your data, which has access to your data, like your name, your mobile number, your family background, and things, they have to abide by this regulation, because then it protects your data, because you are using that company's service. That company will have access to that data, but as per GDPR guidelines, they are not authorized to share your data without your consent to anyone else. Okay, so that if you read the GDPR, I'm explaining it in simple terms so that you can understand. But if you go through the GDPR guidelines, it mentions all these data regulations. So I'll put a link in the description as well. And coming to HIPAA is more restricting guideline, which is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, is a US law that sets national standard for protecting sensitive patient health information, right? So HIPAA is mainly related to the hospitals and health insurance providers, because they have your medical data as well. Based on the medical data, if they have access to medical data, they can start selling you insurances, and they can take benefit of that data. So HIPAA is more restrictive. So I'll put a link in the description for HIPAA guidelines as well. So when your company is breached, which means you are not able to maintain the GDPR guidelines or HIPAA guidelines, and they will fine you because you are storing consumer data and the data breach happened. So there would be a financial fine to you as well. Next part. Okay, so the next point is, if not breached, why to worry? So many organizations will say we are running the business for a long time and we have never been breached, and we have not put any security regulations or like identity and access management, and why should we worry? Because uh, the organization, they have to, when they buy the identity and access management tools, they have to pay a price for it. However, the company is not making any revenue through it. So why should they spend in identity and access management? So we'll see why companies should get access and identity and access management. So first thing I would like to mention here is identity management is like a cyber insurance for security for your house. So like you buy your car insurance, your home insurance, so identity management is like a cyber insurance, and the cost of identity theft is always higher than protection. So if and this question will be asked if you are going to face an interview on identity and access management. This question will be asked to you: why the company would like to invest money on identity and access management? So the cost of identity theft is always higher than protection. Consequences and estimated cost, let me see at the table. Let us see at this table. Data recovery and forensics. It If some ransomware is has entered your machine, it has encrypted your server data, and you want to recover it, you have to pay some money. It will cost you around $5,000 to $15,000. So that is an estimated cost. Legal and compliance fines like GDPR, HIPAA that we talked about. So they will fine you based on your reputation sometimes. So it is 10,000 to $1 million. Productivity loss is estimated is $1,000 a day. Reputation and client trust long term and often unquantifiable. So if you lose the trust of your client and customer, you lose business, you lose money. So it is always better to have uh, identity management and access management, and you strictly follow the GDPR and HIPAA guidelines. So real world example we will take: in 2021, Colonial Pipeline was breached due to a single compromised password. The breach cost 4.4 million in ransom. So there was a ransomware applied and it costed it 4.4 million, and it halted oil supply and caused national panic. Why will it cause ho- oil halted oil supply? I was working with a project in my company, and it was uh, Fortune under Fortune 500 companies. So a time came when there was some update on Active Directory server, and the users were not able to authenticate themselves. So I'm giving you a very real example from my experience. So if they are not able to validate, they have to log into a kiosk system to start the oil delivery orders. So if a tanker is entering the premises, they have to show their identity cards. So there was some failure, and the users were not able to authenticate. They were not able to enter the premises, and it was not for too much time. It was rectified very quickly, and in 15 to 20 minutes, as we are working as clients. So we got a notice that this failure happened, and it costed them some millions of dollars in half an hour. It is a very big company, and you can see these lines. It was a single compromise password that breached, and it costed 4.4 million dollars in ransom. So you can understand what is the cost, and uh, definitely how much revenue we earn. It wasn't a firewall problem, it wasn't a server problem, it was an identity management failure. So that is a real world example that I put to you. Now, what is identity and access management? So we talked about all these things like data theft and identity theft and regulations and fines and the financial aspect. But what exactly is identity and access management? So we'll discuss the Meaning of it, the digital equivalent of a security guard at a gate, checking your ID, verifying if you belong, and decided what areas you're allowed to access. Now, identity card, like you enter your organization, right? You have identity card hanging, and you show it first. You access the main gate, right? So, suppose this is your identity card, and this is first gate, main gate, right? So, so if you have a valid identity card, it gives your name, your picture, everything. Let me draw a beautiful picture of you. So you get it there. So when you show that this identity card, you can enter past this gate, right? Which means you are an employee of this company and you're authorized to pass the main gate, right? However, there are different areas like server rooms, and this is your inventory room. Let us write it, and then it is suppose it is your ODC or working area. Okay, one, maybe I mentioned it one. So when you enter this gate, so the main gate, it simply tells you that okay, you are authorized to go inside, which means you have proven your identity that you are a part of this company. Now, there are different gates at each level. Okay. Now, suppose you are a normal employee who should only be accessing work area 1. So, if you try to go to the server room, it will not let you go there till the time you have access or some work related to server rooms. Inventory room, if you want to go, it won't let you access because it needs specific requirements for you to enter the inventory room. Work area 1, you come ahead and go directly. So this is how your identity and access works. This part, maybe I change the color and show you. So this part was identity. You are a part of the company. You hold an identity card. So this was the identity. And this part where you are not allowed to enter, and some places you're not allowed to enter, this is called access management. Hope it is clear to you. So you understand the identity and access management. Maybe you are a very new employee, even you are not allowed to enter this working area. You only have an identity card. So you can enter the main gate, then you go to the reception, and then you check for your accesses. So it is a very everyday example. Now, it is similar that it is a digital equivalent of a security guard or the access management in your organization. So this is a part of physical security. If you want to know about the digital security, now, so you are a part of company A. Suppose you are a part of a company called company A. Okay. Now this company has given you a laptop. I do not I do not pre-prepare these things as it is coming in my mind. Naturally, I'm trying to explain it to you. So never go on the pictures, go on the concept. And my videos are long and boring, and I don't worry about it because if I have to explain something better, I have to explain it in a way. I do not give like 30 minutes quick tutorial or something. I will go slow, but I'll explain everything. So the company has given you a laptop or an email system. Okay, suppose this is a laptop. The company A has given you ID and password to log into this laptop. Okay, now with your ID and password, you log into this laptop. Now, when you turn on your laptop, you try to send an email. Very basic thing. The first thing you'll do is, like, I'm taking this example because it comes into access management. So you want to send an email. So are you allowed to send an email? The This is called access, right? You try to connect to the VPN. Are you allowed to connect to VPN? Okay, you have presented your identity to the laptop. Are you allowed to connect to the VPN? Yes, no, it depends upon your access. Are you allowed to access a shared file? Again, it is a question of access, right? So this is the main feature of identity and access management. You first prove your identity, and it is known as who you are. Once you prove your identity through who you are, then comes the access management in picture. What access do you have? Okay, so let's see with the help of slides here. So key components of IAM. So identity first is identity, who you are, user, app, device, what kind of thing you are in the company. Oh, oh, oh. Marker and recorder. So I think this would be a great idea to use a marker to point out where I am. Hmm. So identity IAM is first on deep provision. Okay. Sometimes something work very slow. I don't know. I have downloaded something on my machine and it has made my machine a bit slower. I need to get it fixed as well. Like, not get it, but I'll fix this myself. So identity, what is identity? It asks who you are. Are you an user? Are you an app, or are you a device? So you prove your identity. What user ID have you been given? But what device ID have you been given? Are you a part of this organization? This thing is identity. Authentication. Authentication is verifying your identity, which is password, MFA, and biometrics. All right. You are a part of company A and you have got an ID user1 at a.com. So let me explain it again. I think so. You are a user1 at company a.com. Company a.com. So this is your identity. When you present this identity, it simply shows that you are a part of company A. All right. You so everybody would know is you are a part of company A. When you try to authenticate to an app, when you try to authenticate in this case, so with your identity, what you need is your password. With the password now, because password was easily stolen, anybody can social engineer, anybody can get your password. So multi-factor authentication, right? So multi-factor authentication, or yeah, or maybe biometrics. So now if you know is you provide your ID, you provide your password, then you provide your fingerprint. Even if you're using an Android mobile device, to make it more secure, you need to present your fingerprint if you have set it up. Multi-factor authentication is when an SMS is sent to you. You might be logging into some services where you put your user ID and password, and then it says, okay, if you have given me your user ID and password, or you have given me your user ID, Even if you don't provide the password, which is okay, I have sent you an email on on your email address, registered email address. Kindly put a code from that email address. That is nothing but a multi-factor authentication. All right. Okay. Authorization. So we'll after authentication, you first provided your identity, then you provided authentication, you done the authentication, then comes the authorization. Now, what you are allowed to do? Are you allowed to simply enter the application, or you are allowed to do something like accessing the SharePoint, accessing the emails, accessing the files? It is all controlled through authorization mechanism. And then comes access control. How access, it defines how the access is granted or denied. Is it a role based access or is it a conditional access? Role based access is, now suppose you join an organization as a service desk and your role says service desk. Okay. Now, based on your role, what accesses are to be provided to you? It is defined through role based access. If you join as a manager and your role says you are a manager, then an access to the manager will be provided to you by the role based access, which is configured as a manager. So we will all discuss role based access, conditional access, MFA. We will all discuss when we discuss Microsoft Entra ID in detail. Conditional access is when you need the access based on what conditions you need the access. So conditions can be like in simple, like conditions can be device based. If you are using a particular device, then only you will have access. If you are using a mobile phone, you will not have access. If you provide some kind of token, then only you can access. Or multi-factor authentication you can also configure through conditional access. Provisioning is creating and assigning access, onboarding a new employee. So, or like when an employee joins the company as a service desk manager or an application developer, whatever role he is joining. So from the very first day, it must be defined in what role, in what capacity that employee is joining the company. At the time of onboarding that employee, the accesses should be provided to him. Or when the role is changing, for suppose you from a application developer you became manager, so when your role is changing, as soon as you are moved to the new role, you need to have a defined access, and that is all defined in onboarding a new employee. When a new employee is being onboarded, deprovisioning is removing access when no longer needed. Deprovisioning means if the user is leaving the organization, the first thing you need to make sure that his identity is deleted. Right from here, it is deleted, no longer he can provide his identity. However, if the user is not leaving the organization, he is leaving the capacity. Right. Suppose as an application developer he needed access to SQL server. Now he is not an application developer anymore, he becomes a manager, and in his role he does not need SQL server, so it will come under not under complete employee offboarding, but from that role the offboarding will happen and the deprovisioning will happen. The access to SQL server will be removed for that user. Do not worry if I'm not able to explain it well here. I'll definitely go ahead when we explain the Entra ID infrastructure, onboarding, offboarding. We will do everything in practical, and then you will be able to understand. Now let us move to the next slide. And what are the core components of identity and access management? The first is authentication that we already discussed. So authentication is what we discussed. So verify who you are. Authentication, like providing the identity and providing your password. So that is the authentication. Authorization, what you're allowed to do, we discussed it already, based on your group or conditions like location, device. Example, HR manager can view employee files but not finance reports, right? So this thing we discussed already. Now let us see. The next one is multi-factor authentication, extra layer. So what is multi-factor authentication? It is extra layer of security. So with the user ID and password, till here you can determine what authorization, what he's authorized to do. Authentication can happen, but if you want to add an extra layer, which comes by default with Microsoft Entra ID and even with the free plan, it is extra layer of authentication, requires two or more forms of verification. Something you know is password. You know your password and you can tell it to someone else. Something you have, your mobile app or OTP. Mobile app is like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. If you have, if you have used it, you know something you have. Or OTP. OTP is either it is sent through an SMS to your mobile number or it is sent through an email. Something you are. So something you are means some physical thing in you, like a fingerprint for everybody is unique. So you can use it, your fingerprints for biometrics, and you can do a face scan or retina scan. So these things are like something you are, and it greatly reduces the risk, identity theft risk. Someone can steal your ID and password, right? But someone cannot steal your kind of fingerprint or retina scans. If it is not a Hollywood movie, they cannot do it. In Hollywood movies, they have multiple things they will show. They'll type something, and the hacking will happen. The bank transfer will happen. But hackers are really uh, very hardworking. They work very hard to crack one system. It takes time for them. It is not that easy how it is shown to you in movies and all, or maybe in news as well. And something your mobile app OTP. All right. Now we'll move to the next part, which is single sign-on. Now you have put so many restrictions for a person. So do you think you have to remember your password every time, right? Like you have you in your daily use, you might be using 100 applications. So every time you do not need to remember the password. If you have given your identity, you're authorized, and multi-factor authentication is also in place, then you can simply do a single sign-on, which is allow users to log in once and access multiple applications without re-authenticating. So it enhances user experience. One login gives access to Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, etc. So I'll show it to you, and it must be a device based. On a particular device, you should have single sign on, and that device, first thing is that device should be protected with a PIN or a strong password, because if someone enters the your device, he or she, if they have an intention to disrupt something, they can do anything to your system. So let me show it to you. If I am, see, this window is open here, I do admin.microsoft.com. So I my identity has been provided to this machine once, and if I click on it, it is not going to ask me my user ID and password. All right. So if it is not asking me my user ID and password, it is very risky. If someone has access to this machine, he can go and he can cancel all my licenses. He can do anything with this account because it is an admin account. So this is an example of single sign-on. If I try to go to portal.azure.com, it will never ask me for user ID and password, and this is the benefit of single sign-on. But you need to be very cautious when you are using single sign-on, right? So it logged in. You can directly go to Entra ID or PIM management, and you can do anything here. Suppose, okay, I go to outlook.office365.com. So you will see it will not ask me for my user ID and password, and it will give me my email system. You can read my emails. You can send a new email. It will not authenticate because this PC has been configured for single sign-on. This is an added benefit, but needs to be used with very needs to be used with precaution. You do not need to leave your machine unattended. So authentication is showing your ID at the gate. You give your ID, your password, and on your ID you have your face. So your security guard matches your face with your face. Okay, it is the same person. It is the identity card granted by the company. Okay, you can enter the main gate. Authorization is equal to security tells you which door you can open. Whether you can go to a server room, you can go to an IT room, you can go to an inventory room, or you go to your designated workspace and work there, and then you log out and go home. All right, top IAM tools in the market. So as for 2024-25, these are the top tools for IAM in the market, and it is not by intention I have put Microsoft Entra ID there because I am using it. So Microsoft Entra ID, I'll keep it in number one. Why? Because it is integrating with your on-prem Active Directory. It is integrating with your Microsoft 365 services. It is integrating all the Microsoft services that you use in your organization. Second is Okta. Okta is a very good tool. I have worked on it. I have used it. So it actually you can provide either your Azure Active Directory you can integrate, or you can integrate your Active Directory as well. So that in place of Entra ID, if you think the costing is more for Entra ID and you should go for Okta, you can definitely go for Okta. You have your Active Directory server running. You need to install an Okta agent, which will sync the identities, or you can create identities, cloud identities in Okta itself. All right. So it also gives you universal directory, SSO, extensive pre-built integration, workforce, and customer IAM. So you can create your customer identities here as well as external identities in Enter ID. So we'll show it to you when we discuss Enter ID, and if I get chance, I'll create a video on Okta as well. You can find many videos on Okta, but if you are liking my explanation, do put in comments so that I can create videos on more tools. Ping identity is another tool. So it provides complex hybrid environment. IBM Security Verify, formerly IBM Identity and Access Management. And Oracle Identity Management. So this is also one of the tool. CyberArk Identity. So it was the biggest player in market. The CyberArk PAM solution was the biggest player. I tried to get some trial license, but it never gave the trial licenses for CyberArk, and it is very costly. The course even is very costly. ForgeRock, customer identity and access management, AI-driven identity governance, self-service asset and consent management, developer-friendly architectures. We will definitely go with this tool if time and we'll see how my channel grows. That is why I'm asking you to subscribe, share my videos if you're liking it, so that I get encouragement to create these videos. Now we will look into role of Microsoft Entra ID in IAM. First is identity management. You can create, manage, and delete user accounts, support automatic provisioning from HR system or other directories. So if you have an HRMS, like which is human resources management system, so HRs will use. Suppose you are joining a company and your identity is created like a month ago. The time you join the company, the ID will be synced to your Entra ID, and then you can start working. It manages devices, groups, service principal, and external identities. We will all discuss this with Entra ID. So you can actually manage the devices as well, if that device is authorized or enrolled in your system or not. You can manage groups, service principals, like service principals. You can create kind of what kind of service accounts are there, who can access this machine, and external identities. If you want to collaborate with your IDs like Google or Facebook, or some other organization want to collaborate with you, you can create external identities and collaborate. We'll discuss everything in detail. Authentication, it provides you password, multi-factor authentication, biometrics, passkey or passwordless login, and it supports single sign-on across thousands of applications. So definitely we'll do all these things. So we will do a single sign-on as well, and all these things we will show it to you when we discuss authentication part in Entra ID. Authorization is what you can access based on your roles, based on your group, and based on your conditional access, and it integrates with Microsoft 365, Azure, and third-party apps. All right. Advanced security, it will provide is like conditional access based on location, device, user risk, etc. So maybe in last video we discussed if a user is supposed to sign in from India and he suddenly signs in from Australia, it will be detected as a risk, and user will marked as a risky user based on the uh, severity of the risk. You can decide whether he needs to change the password, or you need to send an email. Okay, boss, your ID has been marked as risky. You'll not be able to sign in till the time you send reset your password. Compromise accounts. It can also check integration with Microsoft Defender for threat intelligence. So it integrates with Microsoft Defender as well. Lifecycle and governance. So it gives you features with P2. It gives you feature like access reviews, entitlement management, what you are entitled to do, privilege identity management, and compliance and least privilege access. The concept of least privilege access is give only the required access needed by a user, not more than that. Just in time is when you need it, only then you go ahead and activate it. All right, integration and federation. So it supports what? Marker. It supports integration and federation, connects with on-premise Active Directory, supports SAML authentication, OAuth 2, OIDC, which is OpenID Connect for third-party app integration. So enable B2B and B2C scenarios. So why we are talking all this SAML and OAuth and OpenID? It is for single sign-on. And so why we are talking this is because what happens is suppose this application is hosted on cloud. Okay, that is a SaaS application or hosted on cloud. All right, so let us look into that. And you have your Active Directory. Okay, now if you have Active Directory and you want your users, you onboarded this application, you want your users to sign into this application. Okay, so there was earlier ADFS, Active Directory Federation Trust, which will help you in doing single sign-on. However, with Entra ID, this integration does not need to, you do not need to put any other server, and you can do the SAML integration in for cloud users as well as your on-premise user. Simply you can do an integration here, and it is very easy. If I show you the identity portal, which is, okay, let me take you to the portal.azure.com. All right, and I take you to Microsoft Entra ID, and here you see enterprise applications, or you see application registration, app registrations. So you can simply go there and you can do a new registration, and you can do a registration from there. I have created a kind of application which is email sender. It is expired because I have not used it for a long time. So I'll tell you how to use it as well, and how to provide accesses to this application, who can access and who can send emails. And if you go to enterprise application, so if you click on new email, so you see a lot of services that you can use for single sign-on. So let us see, if you see Zoom here and you want to do a kind of single sign-on to Zoom with your SAML, so you can create this application. Then there would be some exchange of uh, identifiers, like you need to provide some certificate, you need to generate some keys and values, and then once those work, so when we discuss adding setup single sign on, so you can do it from here, and you can select SAML. Let us see. Yeah, so you see identifier, entity ID, reply URL, and sign in URL you provide. Then you have to give the app federation metadata URL, and then when you go and try to access Zoom, it will give you an option to login with SAML, and you present your Active Directory credential, or your Enter ID credential, and it will let you log in. So that is a completely different chapter. It is a very big chapter that we need to understand here. And for that, you need to have the developer console for Zoom as well. Okay, so we'll see how, if we integrate Zoom or WordPress. In WordPress also I have done integration, single sign-on integration with the plugin called Mini Orange Single Sign-On. So I'll show it to you as well. Don't worry about it. Subscribe and keep checking the series. All the concepts will be explained. What I know, I'm not claiming to be an expert so far, because I'm not an expert. There are many things people know that I don't know, and I have to explore that as well. Microsoft Entra ID, Azure ID licensing tiers. We have discussed it in our last video. So let us discuss it once again. Additional. This would be an addition. So user and group management. Entra ID free you can do. Entra ID P1 also you can do. Entra ID P2 also you can do. Device registration. Azure AD join. See, this is a Azure AD join. Do not understand it as MDM or the mobile device management, which is Intune. It is not Intune. It is device registration as Azure AD join. So it is present in all three tiers: free, P1, and P2. Single sign-on. It is limited, as we talked yesterday. It is 10 apps per user. Unlimited with Entra ID P1, and same with P2. It is unlimited. Basic security reports. Basic is available in all three. Self-service password reset. As discussed in last video as well, cloud users only, hybrid users too, and hybrid users too. Multi-factor authentication with Microsoft 365 apps. It is full support. This is also full support. Conditional access you cannot create with free. You can create it with Entra ID P1 and Entra ID P2. Microsoft Entra Connect hybrid identity. You can do it here. You can also do it here. You can also do it here, right? But I doubt this piece. Cloud app discovery. Cloud app discovery. This cannot do. This can do, and this can do. Application proxy for on-prem apps. Identity governance. So identity governance. This free will not do. Enter ID P1 will not do. But P2 have all the features. Privileged identity management. This not do. This not do. Access reviews. You cannot do. Risk-based conditional access and identity protection, risk detection, and policy. So you can do everything, whatever is listed here with P2, but these things you cannot do with free, and these things you cannot do with P1. All right, and all these topics, you like my videos will start with user and group management, then device registration, single sign-on, and then basic security. And if time allows, like I have 30 days 30 days trial subscription for Entra ID P2, sorry, Entra ID P1, but I can extend it to Entra ID P2. And if I can create videos around that, I'll try and do. Else, if looking at the growth, I can buy these licenses and show it to you in detail. All right, so real world scenarios for Entra ID and IAM. So employee onboarding and offboarding. And all right, let us see. And this tool scenario is an HR team hires a new employee. ID needs to provide access to email, team, SharePoint, and business apps. How Entra helps? It automates account creation and app access using group-based access management. Ensure that user is added to the correct role with SSO and conditional access. On termination, user access is revoked instantly with identify. Lifecycle management, use dynamic groups. Best practice is to use dynamic groups. As soon as a user joins with a particular designation, you can create a dynamic group to add him to a group, which will provide him a group-based access management. Securing remote workforces. So today everybody is working from home, and if you want to secure, earlier when people were coming to offices, it was easy to keep the security on. However, people are using personal devices. So how Entra ID helps? It conditional access ensures that can only log on from compliant devices. MFA adds an extra layer of security. Intune integration ensures device compliance. So Intune is again a good part when we are managing when we are managing devices with Entra ID. And Intune with Microsoft 365 E3 we get Intune, and E5 also we get Intune. So we'll show you how Intune works. Let me show you a glimpse of it. Maybe I can show it to you in the interest of time. Mm-mm-mm-mm. So endpoint.microsoft.com, if you go, so it is a complete Intune is completely it is a complete different topic. Though it is included in identity access management, it is a different, completely different topic where you can monitor devices, register devices, enroll devices. If you go to all devices, this desktop on which I'm working right now is, you see, you can manage the compliance from here. You can check whether it is compliant or not. The kind of ownership is personal, but you need to enroll this to the device. Definitely we'll go ahead and look at how to do an enrollment and how to put restrictions on these devices, how to push policies through Microsoft Intune. So all these things we will get and learn. Identity breach prevention. A user's credentials are leaked in phishing attack, and how Entra ID helps. Detects risky sign-in and blocks access. User is forced to reset their password and go through MFA re-verification. Risk-based conditional access and monitor sign-in risk levels. So these all we can do through Entra ID. We discussed it earlier, but in upcoming videos we are going to show it to you. Hybrid identity with on-prem. This is I have discussed, but as this topic is here, so it Entra Connect sync on-premise user to Entra ID. Seamless SSO for smoother user experience. All right, so so password hash synchronization. How do you turn it on when you do Entra ID integration? We'll show it to you as well. So keep in touch. Managing admin access. How privilege identity management works. Just-in-time access. Admin must activate roles temporarily with MFA and approval. All right, we'll discuss. I have discussed it already in theories. And I think it is just the slide which is taking the video to a long time, but it's okay till the time you like it. A financial company may meet access review. You can do regular checkups, who accessed from where, and sensitive groups and higher privileged roles. All these things can be done. Now we reach out to the summary. Enable MFA for everyone. Best practices. User role based access control RBAC, monitor sign in logs and risks, automate user provisioning and deprovisioning. How do I do that? I'll show it to you. Regularly review and clean up old accounts. Use just in time access with PIM. All these things we are going to do. Hope this explanation, this theory was good to you and you'll understand. My next video would be on because before we start identity and access management, it is very much needed that we get into syncing your on-premise Active Directory with Entra ID. So my next video would be on integrating on-prem AD with Entra ID. Okay, I do not have like I earlier I created an Exchange server, but I do not have that currently running here. So I'll not be able to show you how the email integration will work. But if you want to set up an Exchange server, I can suggest few good videos, and will add the link in the description as well. You can watch the complete series of someone else's video. Um, Let me find that out for you if you want to know. If you want to know, learn Exchange, Microsoft Exchange on-prem Exchange. So I'll pin this video as well. Mm, no, no, every okay. Yes, this video is so I think wait. It is playing some ad. Okay. So yeah, this is the video. I'll add the link to this channel in my video as well, so you can actually connect. And while doing the on-premise Entra ID, integrating on-prem AD with Entra ID, we will do like custom domain setup. And why is it needed? Because if you want to set up your own domain and to Entra ID, because your on-prem AD will run on some domain names and your Entra ID will run like on Microsoft.com. So there will be a mismatch and it will not sync. So it is very much needed to do kind of custom domain setup in both the places in your on-premise Active Directory as well as Entra ID. We'll show it to you. And what next? Yeah, then we will sync and see the structure because Active Directory is an OU based structure, but Entra ID is a flat structure. There is no OU concept. Instead of group policies, we have policies in Entra ID, but they are managed through RBAC and conditional access. All this we will learn in the next video. So it will take me some time to prepare all these things again, and we'll come back to you. So hope till here everything is clear. And this slide I have kept for call for action. So conclusion is securing identity is equal to securing organization. Identity is the new security perimeter. Protecting it is not optional. It is not optional, it is mandatory. Microsoft Entra ID offers robust IAM tools for authentication, authorization, governance, and threat protection. All other tools do provide, but I know Microsoft Entra ID much better. That is why I'm writing these lines. Implementing IAM best practices reduces risk, improves compliance, and enhances user productivity. Watch the full series to master Entra ID and Microsoft security tools. A bit of marketing that I'm doing here. Subscribe, like, and share if you found this helpful. Okay. So this I should not write in the slide, but yeah, if you find this helpful, do like this video, do subscribe to the channel for the upcoming videos, and thank you for watching.